Got Dr. Jeeva in studio with us. He is a psychiatrist. We're looking at men and their moods. Now, I encourage you to give us a call. Do you have a moody man? Do you understand mood swings? Are you actually afraid of his mood swings? Have you given up on thinking that they're mood swings because they swing every single day and have for the past 20 years? It just, enough is enough. Give us a call. 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567. You know, I wonder about things like this because, for example, where hormones are involved. Because, for example, one of the things that we have learnt on this show, so often postnatal depression is diagnosed in the divorce lawyer's office. That's where it gets to before they realize that there's actually a problem. Now, similarly, if he is just impossible to live with because he's angry and then he's sad and then he's quiet and then, you know, he's throwing things, and that's impossible to live with. What's going to happen? Chances are you're going to end in the divorce lawyer's office. So, I mean, are some of these the diagnosis of a true problem? Does that often show itself in a complete breakdown of a relationship, whether it is a work relationship or a home relationship? Does it do that?
Well, usually they have this. I mentioned to you about the study in Canada that they did several years ago. Mm-hmm. They took 200 patients from the street who have symptoms of depression. Of those, only 100 of them reached the family doctor's office. Of the 100, only 50 were diagnosed as having some psychological symptoms. Of the 50, only 20 were diagnosed with were treated with some medication for the problem. And of that, only 20 were tried with antidepressant, and only one responded or was treated adequately. So majority of the people with depression are still out in the streets and they are not being treated.
Okay.
And in depression you can have many symptoms, but to make our talk easier today, you asked me a question earlier that I skipped about the symptoms of mood swings in men, and then later on, as we get time, we can go more into the depth of depression. When is it a depression and when is it just mood swings? And one of several things happens in men when they have mood swings. The first one is they don't want to admit that they have mood swings, so then they're looking for somebody else around them to blame. And of course, if it's the spouse, she's the first one that gets the wrath. But if there's nobody, then they blame themselves. And when you're angry at yourself, it's called depression. The second thing is they get very irritable and angry, as we mentioned earlier, and it's very exhausting, and they don't really want to be that exhausted, so they would rather not get into any conflict. Thirdly, they try everything to avoid a conflict or even create a conflict, and this is very interesting and paradoxical. Sometimes men, during mood swings, they feel very unbalanced and they don't want to lose control, and because of that, they sort of withdraw and they sweep it under the carpet, or if they want some action and they want some frustration in their partner, they create a conflict. So we are on both sides of the fence. We are just not the victims, we are also the problem makers. And lastly, very important thing, the new work that's coming out is about sleep problems. If you don't sleep enough, you have mood swings. And the other latest work that has come out several months ago, if you don't sleep enough, you tend to increase your cortisol and eat a lot and you get fat. So increase in weight and lack of sleep goes together. So if you start with the internet at 11 p.m. and finish at 2 a.m., you're going to be snacking all the time, and that's where your weight gain comes in. So this is all about mood swings.
You know, I know we talk about stress quite a bit, and I think a lot of people roll their eyes because they think they've heard it all. But this cortisol that keeps coming up, do yourself a favor, read about cortisol and what it does to the body and how it's released. You can't control when it's released if you're stressed. It just is. And the things that it does, as we've just heard, in terms of, just even how you digest your food, how you sleep, these things are all, that just becomes this whole vicious, nasty munching cycle. So please, do a little research on that. We're taking your calls. Godfrey's on the line now. We're going to come to him in just a sec. We'd like to hear from you too, though. No, that's my phone number. Don't do that. 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567. Godfrey's on the line now. Godfrey, a very good evening to you.
Good evening once again.
Hi. Go ahead, Godfrey.
Yes, and I wanted to tell you that my marriage is on rocks, because of this problem. Sometimes we can drive all the way from Joburg to Soweto and not talk, This thing of silence is one of the major factors to communication breakdown, because my wife will not know why I'm like that. And at the same time, I think I'm trying to avoid the conflict, because whatever we can be talking about, it may amount to another fight, you understand? So I think she's also suffering from the same problem.
You think, or you've asked, how much of this has been communicated and how much of it, because it sounds like you're avoiding stuff, Godfrey. You just don't want to talk about it in case it makes it worse.
Come again?
A lot of the things you say, you don't want to engage because it'll cause another argument, yeah?
Yes, I try to avoid an argument, and being silent may create an argument still.
Well, you see.
Because she will confront me, she wants to know why I'm quiet, just like you're explaining. And I feel like she is challenging my manhood when it comes to most of it. She'll ask me,
Okay.
And if I move out of the house, she will say, yes, go and get yourself a girlfriend, or you have one. That creates another conflict.
I know. Well, it's defensive. It's a defense mechanism. But Godfrey, I want you to hang on and listen, because this is how we're going to end. Now, obviously, you need to have a conversation with your wife, and you need to explain to her when you go quiet that you actually need your own, whatever it is that you need, so that she doesn't keep guessing at what it means. But Doc, you've got some tips for the ladies.
Right. Well, a very exciting part is how to get the best out of your men.
Oh, Godfrey, cover your ears for this, but for the rest of us, yes.
And especially related to hormones. This is from a book that maybe the audience would like to read. It's by Gabriel Lichterman, and it's called What Your Cycle Reveals About Your Love Life, Moods, and Potential. So basically she explains that although women have hormonal induced mood swings on a monthly basis, and we've been talking about it for years, but men are also affected by hormonal highs and lows with daily fluctuations, not monthly. So we better get to know when is the best time to ask for certain favors. So if you need his help moving or fighting or fixing something, the best time is between 9 and 12 in the morning. Why?
Okay, hang on 1 second. So they have the same sort of fluctuations every day?
Yes.
Oh, goody. Okay, so 9 and 12 in the morning to move things.
Yeah, and it should be because at that time they are bursting with testosterone, and aside from the frisky factor, the surge of hormones makes them ambitious, and there's a perfect time to ask them things like Mr. Fix-It, or buying a car, or anything, or moving a closet or a couch. He feels heroic, and he does it without a problem. Then the second time of the day, so we got in the morning, 9 to 12, so you can get all your favors. Secondly, so they need a siesta, an afternoon time, when the testosterone between 3 and 4. If you want him, number 2, if you want him to agree to your plans, he's been resisting that vacation or the shopping or whatever you wanted to do, then between 3 and 4, try to convince him about the ballroom lessons you couldn't get, or the other thing you wanted to buy, because at that time his testosterone are at a super low, and it will make him mellow and amenable to pretty much anything you throw on the table. So if you want favors, 3 to 4 is when you get your action, right?
Okay.
And lastly, if you want to just broach a sensitive topic, and he's been avoiding it, the best time to get there is between 8 and 10 p.m. in the evening. This is interesting. Another hormone comes into play here. At this time, the hormone oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone, due to intimacy and inducing effects, is on the rise in the bloodstream. So this is the prime time to resolve any fight. It hurts my feelings. You didn't call me today, or any grievance. Will you please help me here? You'll probably get met with nothing but a sincere apology and a promise to change his ways. So his sweetness is also dependent on the time of the day that you have a true desire to please you. And as long as you get what you want, which is a bit unfair, these are the crucial times. High testosterone in the morning, 3 to 4, low testosterone, mellowness, and if you want some TLC and some compliance and cuddling, 8 to 10 p.m. at night.
You see, well, I dare say getting what you want is probably a good thing in these situations, because women in relationships, most of us, what we want is something that'll benefit the entire team. We think like that. Now, very quickly, on a serious note, when there are problems, when you feel you need to see someone, you don't need to suffer alone, because there's lots of treatment.
No, there's lots of treatment, and I could say nearly all the conditions could be treated. If you have mild problems like irritability and anger at times, you need a therapist. Go through your family doctor. If you have severe problems like depression, we have tremendous antidepressants and other things, but our main topic is mood swings, and the mood swings, the antidepressants won't help per se. The main thing about mood swings, you need a mood stabilizer, and things like Epilim and Resperidol does magic. It totally stabilizes them, makes them smooth, and also gives a great compliance and great success. So please go for treatment. Don't stay at home.
We've had quite a bit of fun today, and I must admit I've poked a bit of fun at men. I always do. I hope you take it in the spirit in which it was meant. We've been looking at men and their moods. There is a lot of fun to it. We call them grumpy old men, but we love our grumpy old men. However, when it becomes a problem, when it is interfering with relationships and work, as Dr. Jeeva said earlier, you need to get help, and there are lots of resources available for you. Those resources will be on the website. You can get hold of Lifeline if you want to. You can get hold of the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Dr. Jeeva's practice will put his website up there. There's a lot of information on there. So you can, especially about ADHD, you can get all that from there. But Dr. Jeeva, thank you so much for coming in. Nice to chat to you this evening.
Thanks a lot. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Dr. Shabir Jeeva, our psychiatrist in studio. Talk at 9 with Kino up next. Enjoy it from me, Leigh, Bennie. Have a wonderful evening. What's left of it, it's 9 o'clock.